Not a lot of people know that the nervous system is actually the key to generational healing. It's where inherited trauma lives, physically stored in your body, shaping how you think, how you feel, and even how you respond to the world. These patterns of survival, of fear, of scarcity, and anxiety, they're not just yours. They've been passed down from generation through generation, and they're even encoded in our very being, in our DNA. But here's the truth. Those patterns, they do not define you. Your nervous system isn't just a record of the past, it's also the gateway to freedom, what I call sovereignty. When you work with it through movement, breath, and sound, which is what we're going to be talking about today, you can actually release inherited pain, reset your entire body, and reclaim the power that's always been within you. Today, Elvira and I are talking about what the nervous system is and how trauma gets stored in the nervous system and why it's the most powerful tool for breaking generational cycles of trauma. Together, we're going to show you how addressing the nervous system opens the door to sovereignty, to healing, to accepting the Christ consciousness and light within you and creating a brand new legacy of freedom for you and for your entire lineage. So, how are you, Elvira?
I'm doing amazing. How are you doing?
You look amazing too, gorgeous as always. I'm doing pretty.
Thank you.
It's always good to still feel this way, even a few weeks into the new year, because I heard recently that I think by the third week, people have broken all their resolutions and they're a complete mess. And like, what happened? So it's a very, very refreshing to feel in these higher vibes, even though it feels like everything around us is telling us, oh, you should be worried, you should be stressed out, don't you think?
I think the first 3 weeks, actually, I struggled
Yeah.
a bit more with my goals. And then this week, I finally committed. I'm doing my detox, whatever. And I think the detox is actually helping. I have energy.
Yeah,
It's
no,
better.
you really inspired me to do the detox too. I started this week too, and I felt like the first 3 weeks for me were dragging. Like I had
Yeah.
all goals and intentions, and all these things were just coming out. And I think that what we're talking about is so relevant with the about the nervous system because a lot of people don't even know what the nervous system is, and yet it plays such a crucial role in keeping your commitments and being disciplined and doing these things that are so healthy for the body, like detoxing, which we can talk about here a little bit later, right? So I guess we could start with what the heck is the nervous system? Because I don't even think people, I wasn't educated about the nervous system growing up. I mean, I heard about the nervous system, but I really didn't when I thought about healing myself, I never thought that the nervous system was something that I would address. So if we were talking to someone like just on the streets that had never even heard anything about the nervous system, to you, how would you describe it to them? What is the nervous system?
I think to me, the nervous system is a fight and flight mode where, like I said in the last podcast, I used to feel that if the amount of worry I had for you showed how much I loved you and how much I cared for you.
Mm.
So the stress levels that I was in constantly, just stress, I couldn't live in the moment. I couldn't, it was just constant. I have to do this, I have to do that, and I have to, and just this anxiety that starts building up. And you're with family or something, and you can't even enjoy it because your nervous system's like this. At least for me, it was just constant, stressed out all the time to the point it was just physically started making me sick. To the point where now with my sadhana practice, it took a long time in the beginning to actually get into it because my nervous system was so active, the cortisol levels, whatever, that I couldn't even sit or my mind was just off. I'm trying to sit there, but my mind's constantly thinking, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to, because the nervous system's so altered, you can't even focus. But I think it also has to do with we're not feeling. So all these emotions that we build up all our lives and our ancestors that we haven't felt anything is also causing our nervous system to be altered and to be stressed in this stress mode all the time.
Yeah, that's a perfect description because I can totally, what you say resonates to me because I remember when I was in real estate as a real estate broker and I was not practicing Kundalini yoga or any meditations. It didn't matter what my to-do list was that day. I would wake up and I sort of out I was already in sweat because of I was so overwhelmed, and it's crazy because it's not I actually I feel like I have more things to do now, and in my business and at home, but yet I don't wake up that way because there's this practice, right? So I think that that's a perfect way to describe it. It's like this constant state of overwhelmment, of alert, because of the chronic stress, which a lot of it comes, of course, through work and life, but a lot of people don't necessarily associate that with like the generational trauma, because what we don't realize is that our nervous system gets stuck, like you just said, in that traumatic experience, even if it happened 50 years ago, or even if it happened to an ancestor. And that's what's crazy. So I think it's so important for us to understand and be educated of the nervous system, at least like the basics, because the future of healing is the nervous system. A lot of mental health diseases are not mental health diseases, they're actually nervous system disorders. And we live in a society where this modern world, look at the phone consumption of information. You might be saying, yeah, well, I'm just consuming educational stuff, or I'm just consuming spiritual things. It doesn't matter because your brain is processing information. So your brain connected to your nervous system is going to be impacted. And it doesn't mean that we are a species that cannot survive in modern days. It just means that we have to really be prioritize our preventive medicine, meaning we have to find ways to regulate the nervous system from this constant pressure, which is information overload, which is, again, the generational trauma patterns that we now scientifically can tie into this. So when I was thinking about the nervous system, the easiest way for me to understand it, and I now as a Kundalini Yoga therapist have a lot of respect for the nervous system and see it in such a powerful aspect of who we are. But it's basically divided into two parts, and this is what you were describing right now. We have the sympathetic nervous system, which is called the fight or flight. That's the feeling that you were stuck in, and I was stuck in too. It's designed to basically keep you safe. So it's not trying to like kill you or trying to unalive you, right? It's trying to keep you safe in times of danger. It doesn't see, the brain doesn't know that you're not in that traumatic experience anymore, and neither does your nervous system. So when triggers, like you see the person that did something to you, or something reminds you, the smell, you know how that is, right? All those PTSD things, they come to you. Your nervous system doesn't know that it's not in that same situation. So then what happens? Fight and flight. Literally, your body starts secreting cortisol and adrenaline because it's trying to protect you. And that's what was happening to me in the real estate when I was in a broker. And it wasn't, I can't blame it on the real estate industry. It was me, because I could do, again, we don't have an excuse to do that. We have to learn to take care of ourselves, right? If your business is growing. But I remember that I was just managing so many things at one time, and it was just a constant fight with the cortisol and adrenaline. And I know that a lot of women who have come into our academy, or I've helped work with one-on-one, they have come to me and they've told me that they've done tests in the doctor's office, and that their doctors tell them that they have very high levels of cortisol. Well, that's what it means to get stuck in fight and flight. And that's the sympathetic nervous system part. But there's also a parasympathetic part. And this is the part that is known as rest and digest. And it helps us recover after stressful events. It helps calm your body. It slows down your heart rate. It allows you to basically feel safe in your body again. And that's the whole thing, that because if you're somebody who's been under chronic stress, let's just say that you've never had any trauma of child abandonment, of toxic relationships. I don't know who hasn't, right? But let's just say you've never had that, but you have a very demanding job, and you have long hours, right? Then that is stress that becomes chronic, which then educates the system, the nervous system, the sympathetic part, to then constantly be under fight and flight, like something's gonna go down. So it's correlated to stress. But when we think about generational trauma, that is the stress, because it's these unhealed parts of ourselves, like growing up in a house where your parents were always fighting, right? That is stress. Not being seen as a child. We were talking about grief last week, right? Imagine if as a little girl, you felt sad, and instead of being told, don't be sad, don't be angry, or even worse, ignored, you were actually just allowed to feel those feelings. Then guess what? You're not going to develop coping mechanisms to deal with that pain later, right? So, as much as it sounds horrific of how much trauma can affect the nervous system, we're also not victims to it, right? Like you just said, your sadhana practice slowly has allowed you to calm your nervous system down and to really re-educated, because isn't that what happened with you?
When it I think my nervous system was so altered and so unbalanced and so stressed out that when I finally decided to commit to my daily sadhana, I couldn't relax and I couldn't calm down. So it kind of, because I hadn't dealt with all these issues and I hadn't really gave myself even time to feel anything, that's when the dark nights of the soul came, because all of a sudden everything started coming at me. And I literally felt I was going crazy. My whole nervous system was so off that I had to go to the doctor. I had to go to a neurologist. They put me on medication. I would go in there and they would give me like lidocaine shots all over my face, my head, Botox to try to calm myself down, because it can make you so sick. I don't think people realize the stress and the nervous system not being okay, so altered, it can make you sick. And it's taken me years, even with medication. Thank God I'm off the prescription medication off of it. But even with the daily sadhana, it has helped tremendously. And also the coaching, the Sovereign Woman Academy, all these things of listening and learning, to trying to grow and learn how to actually even sit down, like Dr. Gabor, just sit down and feel. What are you feeling? Like, just scan your body. What are you feeling? Why are you feeling this? Where is it coming from? What are you thinking about when you're feeling this? Like, there's a process. There's different ways of feeling it. But I think even then, with the stress, it causes even the nervous system starts, because everything's connected in our body. It starts affecting our organs, our brain, our heart. The heart is under how much stress, because our nervous system is thrown off. And people don't realize how important it is. And some people fight it.
Yeah.
Some people fight it. They're like, I'm fine, I'm fine. Or they're just blaming everybody else, when in regards they need to look inside and work on ourselves and take care of ourselves and take responsibility for our own decisions as well. Or not putting everybody before ourselves, doing for everybody. All that throws everything, the whole nervous system off. And I don't think people realize how much that affects us.
Yeah. No, and I've always had so much respect for you, because when you said it ends with me, you literally said it ends with me. And I'm so glad that you described all these things that you had to do to help yourself feel better. And I wish that more people would actually do this work, but it's exactly the nervous system that prevents them. That my nervous system, because it was so dysregulated, I always felt like a victim. I always felt like the whole world was against me. My sister yesterday or today, I think she posted something on her stories that was so true. It said, we're in an age, and she's like in her mid-30s. We're in an age where you can tell which adults are doing the inner work and which ones are not. And I was like, dang, that is so freaking true. And especially when you come with family, going back, I went to a quinceañera and I saw my family that I haven't seen them for a long time, right? And it's like, my God, that's where you see how much you've changed, because like they're still talking about the same things and all this stuff and worrying about the same things. And you can tell those that are investing in themselves and in their health. And I hope that more people will actually jump the wagon or do it, right? But it's so freaking ironic. And this is what I argue with God. It's like the nervous system is exactly what they need to heal, but it's exactly what is also preventing them from actually doing it, because they are stuck in fight and flight. They need to defend themselves. They need to protect. They need to project. And it's a horrific cycle that people get stuck on. So I don't know about for you, but for me, it was just kind of like a big part of that nervous system healing was also like just allowing people to walk their own journey and not trying to help them. Even though I was so excited because I was healing and I was able to let go of, all these attachments. I got in trouble a lot of time for trying to tell people to rate their nervous system. Did it happen to you at all?
Oh yes, because it's a control issue too.
Yes, it is.
Trying to control everything, and it also alters the nervous system. And you're so excited because you find this new way of living, that you don't have to be in this fight and flight mode. And you want to tell people, especially family, and they're like, I don't have that. What is wrong with you? Like, I'm not controlling. I'm like, yes, you are. And they don't see it. It was to the point, and like I said, people don't realize how strong the nervous system can get from taking medication to calm my nervous system down, to the point where even my muscles, my nerves would
Yeah.
feel like it would be so tense, and then the body's trying to relax, and then and just getting the muscle spasms of like, no, because it was so used to. For years, I'd be like, "Oh my God, this is painful," because it's trying to relax, and at the same time, it's so tensed up and so stressed out that it couldn't. It was just constantly fighting it back and forth. And then it causes all these other issues because you're trying to help everybody else and be like, look, this is what's happening in our lineage. This is what's happening because I see it even with family, PTSD, whatever. You couldn't even have a normal conversation because it would just completely blow out of proportion because the whole family's nervous system is off. So you couldn't even have a normal conversation with anybody because if you did, it would completely be turned around. Everybody's trying to defend themselves when there's nothing to defend. We're just having a discussion, and it just causes this huge problem. People don't even realize that's what it is.
Yeah, and you were also feeling both of us were feeling the physical effects of that because the fight or flight mode, what's happening there is our bodies were believing it was always under this threat, right? Even when we were safe. So what does that lead to? Chronic stress, anxiety, depression, digestive issues, fatigue, physical pain, illness. So what happens is that it's not like you have this tragic experience, the nervous system breaks, and then you're like done. It's a buildup. So it's the tragic experience happened as a child, right? Like my abandonment wound for me began when I was a baby, when my mom left me with my grandma and she would go work in the and she would come work in the United States. She was doing it for my own good, right? But I didn't know that as a baby. I needed my mom, right? Or when she was depressed growing up, right? I'm sure she had good intentions of being there for me, but she couldn't because she was depressed. So imagine she's and we haven't even hit the womb yet. We're gonna do a whole episode on the womb next episode. But like my nervous system was already being rewired in the womb by my mom. I'm doing this workshop in Phoenix on February 15th where we're gonna work with releasing these imprints from when you were in the 5th month of the womb. Because a lot of us don't realize that whatever mom was going through, that was already pre-wiring our fight and flight responses before we were even born. Then you wonder why some babies, they're saying, es cólico or all these different things. No, it's not. It's the environment. Yeah, they might have cólico. How do you say cólico in English? I don't even know how to say that.
Colic? Is it colic?
Colic. It's just colic. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't know that in English, but when they have cólico, okay, yeah, they have colic, but what's causing the colic? The colic is being caused by the disconnection between the nervous system of me and my mother. That's why I'm a baby that's crying a lot, right? And then if mom has a dysregulated nervous system, she can't attune to us. She doesn't even know what we need. And it's so sad because we talked about this last week with post-traumatic stress disorder or postpartum depression, which is really real. And I didn't have it with my first one, but I did have it with my second one. I just didn't know I had it. And what was my coping mechanism? I'm going to drink alcohol because that's the only way that I can deal with this feeling so threatened for no reason either. Although the reason is because women, we have our babies, it's like we're missing something. We're literally, our bodies are like freaking the F out, which is why our hormones are all over the place. So the nervous system is very responsible for managing our emotions, but if it has constantly been, and again, it's this buildup, and then that's what we're seeing now. It's like you might not get that physical disease as a 12-year-old or as a 15-year-old, but then here comes your 30s, and it's been a buildup, and then all of a sudden, also something really tragic happens in your life, a big change maybe. The nervous system, this is what I called a burnout, which I went through myself too. In 2015, right before I went to the jungle and worked with plant medicine, I went through complete burnout, which I was always an extrovert, drinking lots of coffee to get going and working with people. I literally woke up one day where I could not do that anymore. And I know so many women, overachievers, running businesses in their homes and, multimillionaires. And then from one day to the next, their business is shut down or they have to take a lot of time off. Because when you get to this tipping point where your nervous system's like, I can't anymore, you're filled with cortisol and adrenaline. Literally, I don't know if it ever happened to you, but for me, it was like the state of extreme depression, of anxiety also, but also at the same time, just I couldn't be around people. I felt lost. I didn't even have a voice. And that's when I had to force myself to take time away from the real estate industry. And again, it wasn't the real estate industry that caused this. It was the pile of generational trauma that I wasn't dealing with for such a long time. Is that something similar to kind of like what you went through?
Oh yeah, it's kind and it even I started my sadhana because I felt I was craving something. I was looking for something. And I had already done coaching programs, which started and I had already started the Kundalini yoga classes.
Oh yeah.
But when I finally committed to my sadhana, my meditation, it just kind of I completely had to isolate myself from everybody. I didn't want to, all I wanted to do was just meditate and just sit with it. And then I started with the dark nights of the soul. And at the same time, it started all this physical pain
Mm.
where I started to get all these shots and everything. Even in my face, I'm like, do whatever you have to, because I was in so much physical pain that I couldn't do it anymore. And I think it's taken me a while to kind of just, okay, it's okay, because I didn't want to do it. I lost complete motivation of everything. I think finally now I'm like, okay, I'm starting to feel good. I'm like, okay, something's happening here. We started the detox and I'm like, okay, it's just been like, let's stay focused and let's do what we got to do.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the detox. Because, of course, meditate, and we're going to talk about the holistic path of meditation and the spiritual path. But a lot of people don't realize just how effective detoxing is and fasting. Fasting changes your life. I know it's something that you've really gotten into and something you're doing this week. How do you see fasting, or what does your detox actually look like? Because it's correlated directly with healing the nervous system. Because that's the whole point. When we meditate, we have a more stable nervous system to make better choices of what we're eating, right, and what we're putting in our bodies. But then if you do both at the same time, which I know for you, it's turning into a monthly practice. Same thing, something that I want to do. But what got you into like detoxing, and what does detoxing actually look like for you?
A couple years ago, I had a friend actually refer me over to Medical Medium. I don't know if you ever heard of him. So I bought the book and he goes really into, he says spirit talks to him. I was just watching the interview with him where he tells them a lot of actually famous people have gone to him, has taken their children, like Robert De Niro, stuff like that, because he tells you exactly how to heal naturally without having to go and take all these medications and stuff. So I had a friend tell me about the celery juicing and all this stuff. So I was like, okay, I was kind of putting it to the side. So finally, 2 years ago, I don't know what triggered it. I said, you know what? Once I started my sauna a couple years after that, I wanted to completely get off the medication, the prescription medication. So I'm like, I need to detox my body. I need to do whatever I can to heal. So 2 years ago, me and my husband it's a 9-day detox where you have to eat what he tells you. It's all fruits and vegetables. It's all certain fruits and vegetables, certain recipes that he gives you. And it's very detailed. My husband has struggled with cholesterol, high triglycerides. He was pre-diabetic. So when we do this 9-day detox, he goes to the doctor, gets blood work, and the doctor's like, what did you do? This is a miracle. I have patients here because it completely normalizes bloodstream. Cholesterol, I mean, I'm talking cholesterol at 600, triglycerides 1,200, 1,400, 1,400, where it should be 200 or less or something like that. It was insane. So the doctor's like, this is a miracle. What did you do? Because I have patients who are under medication, who work out, who watch their diet, and they can never get their their cholesterol, triglycerides, or they're diabetics, whatever, they cannot get it under control. So that alone told me, okay, this is real and this works. So I've been dealing with health issues that I've been working on and some health issues that came up this summer. So I'm like, it kind of threw me off. But then this year I said, no, I need to focus and do the detox and really get off dairy, get off gluten, get off the artificial sugar, get off coffee, get off eggs. Like it's a strict diet. Like I've been doing it gradually since November. But this Monday I said, no, the next 3 months, I'm completely off dairy, completely off gluten. I'm doing this 9-day detox. I started Monday. Like I said, it's just fruits and vegetables, celery juice, water, lemon water. There's certain smoothies that you need to do, but it's all raw. Since Monday, I lost 3 pounds already. So I'm committed every month for the next 3 months. I'm doing these 9-day detox and I'm continuing the morning like detox for the next 3 months as well. And like I said, off the dairy, off the gluten, off the eggs, off the coffee. And in the first coffee, I was like, do it without, I would feel sluggish. It took me a while. And then now I'm like actually okay. Right now I'm starting to feel energy. You would think I'm tired because we're only doing the vegetables and this and that. I have energy. I have noticed that with the detox, once I go to sleep, I knock out. But I think is the cells in the body, they're healing. So I'm completely committed because of whatever sickness or whatever they diagnosed me with this summer. I was like, this is serious. I cannot play around. Either I nip this in the butt now or no. Like I'm doing this now. And I'm committed to, I'm dedicating. I had a friend tell me, dedicate it all to God. Okay. You're right. I should dedicate it all to him. So all this is dedicated to him because this is a miracle that he gave me. I feel that he gave me to help me grow. It's, not just for myself, for my kids, for everybody. It's just that it's a blessing in disguise. That's how I see it.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm so glad that you were able to get also the facts verified by the doctor so you could really see what is happening. Because we hear this a lot. And it's all over the place now about fasting and detoxing and how literally you could get rid of diseases just by fasting and detoxing for, like you said, 9 days. I just didn't realize what a big impact your husband had. That's like tremendous. That's huge. And here's the thing about that this is the crazy part. A lot of people right now are suffering from what is known as like fatty liver. Have you ever heard of that? Okay, so fatty liver is like super common and it causes a lot of the pain. My mom had to go through that as well. But what causes fatty liver is cholesterol, high levels of cholesterol. So you have to bring down the cholesterol to avoid the fatty liver, right? And all of that can change. It's reversible. Like my mom went through this time where they told her that she might have liver cirrhosis. And the reason why she had that was because they put her on antibiotics for like 3 months after her surgery. So that antibiotics is like the number one leading cause of that does cause liver cirrhosis. It's insane, I know. And what could she have done at that point? She had to take the antibiotics, right? So then she started eating well in the last 2 months before she went to the doctor. And she was like cutting down all the stuff that was like grease. She eats well, but the bread and she eats a lot of fried food or an abundance. It was just the choices, right? So then she goes back to the doctor and the doctor's like, they exaggerated. You don't have cirrhosis. Your liver looks clean. I'm like, you see, mom? It was just the changing. Even if you would have had liver cirrhosis, it's reversible. Everything is reversible if you change what you're eating. But the crazy part is that because our nervous system is so dysregulated, we grab the first thing that we do eat, and then we're putting these things in our body that are not good for our body. I'm with you with the fasting. I usually do, especially in January, but I will do like straight fasts. Like right now, I'm doing a fast, but I'm still drinking my coffee. And I argue with my husband because, like, if you Google it online, like 50% of the people say it's okay to drink coffee because it doesn't have calories. I don't drink sugar or milk in my coffee, so I just drink it black. And then other people say no, specifically because it affects the nervous system, right? So if you want a full cleanse, a full detox, you really have to let it go. So I'm slowly weaning myself. The longest one that I did was for my birthday about 3 years ago, which I did 9 days, but that was a straight fast, like just water. But it is what you just mentioned. Mine are spiritual fasts. For me, it's always, not only do I pick a meditation that's gonna keep me grounded, but it's praying to God. Remember, the coping mechanism. Food is a coping mechanism that we want to calm our nervous system down with. So what I love about these fasts or detoxes, and I do like at least 1 to 2, 3 days every month too. And I'm really good about intermittent fasting, where I can go 16 to 18 hours without eating for like a week. And that's even really, really good for you as well too. Because it's, again, your nervous system is getting cleansed, and then all the cells are repairing themselves and all of that. But it's just so amazing how much of an impact and change it can make in you, and how little people believe in it. That's what I don't understand. It's like there's this book that you were talking about, and there's science everywhere about it. We just have to be stronger than our mind, because the whole thing is that I'm not gonna say I don't feel hungry, but it's just like a coping mechanism, you know? So I need something to calm that, which then that's where I revert back to the meditation. Now, what was this guy's name? The psychic medium?
They call him medical medium.
Need a medical medium. Maybe.
So he says that since he was a kid,
Mhm.
spirits talks to him
Mm.
and telling him how to heal people. So people would tell him, you cannot see everyone. So do the book. So he has these books, and they tells you specifically, if you have this illness, this is certain vitamins that he recommends, why this certain illness came from, where is it coming from? And then, but he has the detox, they're pretty much, it's the original one, a simplified one if you have never done a detox and it's too strong for you, and then the advanced. I've done the original, now I'm doing the advanced, and I'm gonna do the advanced for the next 3 months. But it was funny because I go to the store and I'm buying all this celery, and I'm buying all these, like, all greens. And I'm buying like 16 stalks of celery. Like, I'm buying a lot because it's me and my husband doing it. And they tell me, they're like, I remember the cashier one time, she's like, "Oh, what are you using all the celery for?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm doing the celery juice, and I'm doing a detox." She's like, "Oh, I think it's such a drag. I have to wash the whole like juicer, and it's so much work. So I'd rather just go buy it." But it's not the same, because I bought the juices, like they sell what they bring you all these juices for I don't know how many days. It didn't do anything for me. I mean, people say it does. It didn't do anything for me. They say you need to take this celery juice within a certain amount of time, I think 30 minutes and something like that. And it's true, because I did it one night. I prepared it, put it in the fridge. Next morning I took it. It didn't do anything. And because you could feel it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When I first started it again, because I stopped doing it for a while, something was happening in my brain because I could feel it. I'm like, oh, this is weird. Like, so I think because unfortunately our nervous system's already altered, we're already in the stress mode. We crave these foods that are already addicting, like MSG. There's all these flavors that they put in it that is making us addicted to keep eating these foods that are not good for us. And then you want to do this radical detox. I think you probably have to start slow,
Yes.
because I started with the lemon water and the celery juice since November,
Mhm.
and just mentally preparing myself to the detox. Because but once you do it, oh, you feel amazing. By the ninth day, you feel amazing.
Absolutely.
No, I'm like, no, I'm committed. And once, it's hard. It's not easy because we're used to eating all these foods. Now I'm just like, no, I'm doing this for God. I'm dedicating this for God, and it just feels more calm down because my kids are still eating. I can smell the food they're cooking in there, and I'm just like, okay. My daughter's like, "Are you okay, mommy?" I'm like, "I'm fine."
You, you know what's crazy? That even though when I'm fasting and detoxing, I still love to cook. I find pleasure in it. And I'm not gonna lie, like my mouth might water, but I won't taste the food, obviously. But for some reason, when I'm detoxing or fasting, I get more creative with my cooking. And I feel like it's like a pleasure to see them eat, my family, even though I'm detoxing. My husband has always said, "You are weird." Like, because, taking food away from a man is the hardest thing you can do, I think. He's
Yeah.
done he's done these fasts with me. We did one together of 7 days, and I'm proud of him because he stuck it through for 7 days. Because he's the kind of guy who gets hangry, like
Yeah.
let's do it at his times. But yeah, like for me, I love to cook even while I'm doing it. I feel like a sense of like, I don't know, servitude almost in a way where I enjoy them enjoying that. The other thing I wanted to say is that I heard about celery juice. Some people, nutritionists, gut nutritionists, they're saying that celery juice is like the life-changing medicine of this century. Like if people understood how much you could repair your cells. I mean, we're talking about even the C word. Like it can cleanse anything. And a big part of that is I know that it reduces blood pressure. That's a big thing. Inflammation, which is what happens when we get sick. But I think also a big part of the juicing and celery juice is huge for this, but other juicing too is hydration. When our nervous systems are dysregulated, I can assure you that you are also dehydrated. And the whole thing about dehydration, because I'm one that likes to do the IV treatments, the ones that go into your vein and they put all these vitamins in you. We have this place that we go to in Phoenix that we love to do. I should be doing it more, but right now I'm only doing it like twice a year. But basically, she was saying like so many people can avoid the emergency room and can just come get an IV treatment because all they are is dehydrated. And the whole thing about dehydration is when our nervous system is dysregulated, you better believe you're going to forget to drink water, right? You better believe that you're going to be under stress. So you're just going to grab onto the thing that's going to happen. And then what we don't realize is that dehydration causes pressure on the adrenal gland. And the adrenal glands are what control these emotions, which then cause you to feel more anxious and more. So a lot of our problems are, I assure you, that we are just dehydrated too. But again, if we don't address the nervous system, then we're not gonna pay attention to even the way we take care of ourselves. I don't know. That was the case for me when I was completely dysregulated. I didn't really care. I just did things to keep me going until I could no longer.
I hear people in the real estate industry, I've heard people that they're like, I wake up and they have a lot of energy. I wake up at 3, I don't know, 4 in the morning, and the first thing I do is I grab a chocolate.
Mhm.
And I'm popping chocolate all day long, like it's white chocolate, but still, like, I understand where your energy is coming from, but like that's going to cause, to me, I'm like, that's going to cause a lot of issues at some point. It's gonna hit you like you ran into a wall. But it's our nervous system that we haven't dealt with this. Automatically we go for those foods that are not good for us. If you wake up in the morning and you take, I prepare it every night. My water with lemon. I started with 16 ounces. Right now with the advanced detox, I'm doing 32 ounces in the morning, and then I do the 32 ounces of celery juice. I guarantee you get up in the morning, I drink the 16 ounces first. You just automatically feel it. You're like, "Oh, my cells needed this." And it's that dehydration because that also is going to make you stressed out. It's all a combination of everything. But I guarantee you, if you the night before you get your glass and you put the lemon water and I cover it and I just leave it near my bedroom, that's the first thing I take, and you feel it. It just wakes you up. You feel the cells just go, oh, this is what I needed. I haven't drank water all night, and God knows the day before since when. People always tell me, they're like, "What are you drinking? Water? What are you drinking?" I'm always hauling my water bottle everywhere because most of the time, and that causes also stress in the nervous system.
But I see the whole thing is you're preparing for your success. If you know you're gonna do 9 days, like you have the tools there ready to go, right? Or you set yourself up in the evening and in the nighttime you kind of gotta do that. And that's the whole thing that without a stable nervous system, we're like all over the place and we're freaking out and we're like, I'm not gonna do this. But one thing I will tell you, the celery, you know where I get it, and it's organic and it's a great price. Costco. If you have a Costco card, they don't sponsor our podcast yet, but so I'm still gonna give them a big plug because you can get like a big bag for $4.99. and it's all organic. I love it from there. It's really, really, really fresh. In case anybody's looking for, and if you're listening, Costco, we will take you as a sponsor. Okay. We spend enough money there already. If I hate
My dad, just my dad alone, I'm like, he should have received some kind of award. He goes in the morning to the business Costco, and in the afternoon he goes to the regular Costco every single day. It's insane. He's like, he's a loyal customer.
I love Costco so much. The day that I go to Costco and I come home, like my house feels like
We're
you
stuck.
exactly. So we talked a little bit of some solutions, right? Which is detox. That's a big one. And I'll link the book that you mentioned here in the comments so that anybody can go find it and look it up. But any one of us can go online and find all this information about fasting and detoxing. And obviously, consult with your doctor or consult with whoever you need to if you have situations with your health and things of that nature, because we're all very, very much different. But also, we need to talk about the other approach, which is the somatic way to healing the nervous system. Because like you said, when they were giving you the Botox, like Botox and all these different pills, like how is that going to heal the nervous system when the nervous system is not even like it's all of us, it's like it's connected to, yes, it's connected to the spinal cord, connected to the brain. But like if somebody were to give me a shot or a pill, how is that only going to affect the nervous system and not affect everything around it? And that's why I'm telling you that a lot of the things that we call mental health disorders are not mental health disorders. They're actually nervous system disorders that we can rewire, because one of the things about the nervous system, just like the brain, is that it's plastic. It's neuroplasticity. Next week we're going to do a whole episode on the womb. But if we're being pre-wired at the womb, that doesn't make us victims, because we can actually introduce. This is where we were talking about with the sadhana practice, with your daily meditation. That's what started to re-educate my system, even if it was for a second at the beginning. Because like I told you in last episode, like when I first started meditating, I was like, I could not sit still. And I just thought, I'm never going to be able to do this. But I kept at it and I kept at it. And then with time, things started to change. And now I'm surprised at how long I can do this. And even I'm a morning person now. I was a morning person. I love my morning so much. But that's where the holistic approach comes. So some of the things in Kundalini Yoga therapy that were very important were like breathing, right? Chanting. Why? Because it activates the parasympathetic system and it calms the body and it signals the safety to the brain. So it's connecting now, instead of constant freaking out and threats. Now your brain and nervous system are like, oh my God, she's getting breath in. Prana. Wow. And then that's oxygenating the brain, which is then creating the new neural pathways, new neurons. Literally, that's the most amazing thing about the brain, that we can regrow it. And that's the whole thing that modern medicine has lied, or I don't know if they've lied to us, but they haven't taught us correctly. Like they think that once we have these brain injuries or brain impediments, that all of a sudden we're screwed for life. And that is so untrue. And it's been proven so many times with like even the protocols that we do in Kundalini Yoga therapy. They did this protocol with the veterans. And after 8 weeks, they scanned the brain. And after 8 weeks, that area, which is known as the hippocampus, when you go through a lot of trauma, it stops working and it shrinks and shrinks in size. Well, after 8 weeks, it had grown in size. And not only had it grown in size, but it was actually working the way it needed to work. So we're not victims to this, as complicated as it seemed. Like, oh my God, my nervous system. Oh my God, my brain. The breath. The breath allows us to then bring this oxygen to the places where it wasn't getting oxygen. When we talk about sound healing, like one of the things that we're going to be doing in the workshop on February 15th is I'm going to be using the gong. This is the gong behind me. So this beautiful instrument here is sound, and it's been proven to remove pain, to restructure cells. I mean, it is an incredibly powerful tool. In both cases, whether it's breath, whether it's sound, or meditation, you simply are allowing yourself moments of just sitting still and just long, deep breathing. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just long, deep breathing to get that oxygen moving again. All of it has the same component. It's a sound or it's a frequency. That's how you change the nervous system. You cannot change the nervous system with something else that's of a matter because it's subtle energy. Does that make sense? Am I explaining it correctly?
Oh, completely. When I was in so much, even though I had started my sauna practice, it was in the beginning,
Mhm.
and I had done all this coaching and all this stuff before. My nervous system was so altered that when I went to the doctor, because I was in so much physical pain, and they're giving me all these injections, and I'm on medication. When I finally decided to get off it, because they send certain medication, they'll send you to the psychiatrist to make sure you really need to be taking this medication. And she would tell me, "You are going to be in pain for the rest of your life. You're going to have to be on this medication for the rest of your life." I'm like, "No." I was on it for, like, I think 2.5 years. Finally, I committed. I said, "No, I need to get off it." I did the detox. I got off it. I was still in physical pain, but I was like, "No," I committed to still the celery juicing and still working. And it took a while where it has gotten a lot better. I don't feel it like I felt it before. My nervous system, and it's taken years, and you have to be patient because it's taken years for me to actually calm down my nervous system, continue with my sadhana, continue with the coaching, continue and working myself and understanding and knowing that it's okay to feel. It's a work in process, and just learning to just let go and release what you can't control. A lot of times we want to control this and that. Our family, we want them to heal. We want to get along. You just have to learn to, let them. Like that author says, just let them. You have to just let them. They want to talk, let them. They don't want to do the work, let them. It's okay. We have to work on ourselves. So I'm at the point in my life, thank God, where I actually feel that finally, and it still can get triggered or whatever, but I do feel like I don't have that pain like I did before. I don't get the migraines like I used to before. But I still need to continue with what am I eating? I still need to continue the detox, obviously, because of some health issues that I'm still having, and still continue with my sauna and just be patient because it actually does work. It does work.
Well, and I think for you also, I mean, both of us, it was generational trauma, right, that we were working through. But then they put you through all those pharmaceuticals. I'm pretty sure that that set you back even more. So, like, I feel like what you're healing from now is that, like that. And it was the same thing with me. What am I healing from? Yeah, the generational trauma. But if you think about it, what were the effects of alcohol consumption every day in me? They were also doing the same things that pharmaceuticals would do. I think pharmaceuticals are probably even worse, especially if they put you through all those different things. And you know how hard it is? There was this one doctor talking about how in the next 5 years, we're going to all wake up and realize how much the mental health industry has corrupted and damaged so many people, especially when it comes to like the way they just give you an antidepressant for anything, without studying what's really going on. So a lot of it, I think it was also repairing ourselves from the things we were doing to try to fix the problem. In my case, it was alcohol because that was my coping mechanism, right? And I'm sure that was doing damage to my liver, right? It was doing other damages. I remember I was always inflamed. Like my face was always, even though I was very thin on my body, I look at the pictures and I was like, damn, that's insane. So I think, don't you think it's also like the repair from that too?
Oh, yes. The medication that they were giving me, they told me it did 5 things. One, it would block the message that I was in pain. It would block it to send it to the brain so the brain wouldn't receive it, so I wouldn't feel the pain. It acts as a muscle relaxer. It acts as an antidepressant. I think it's something about the cortisol levels, and it did like 5 different things that I don't even remember anymore. I just remember those 3 main ones. But I could also, I mean, I was in so much pain, Veronica. It was it was too much because they had tried to give me that medication many years before that, and I would fight it, and I would be constantly in pain, like you could feel it here in my face and my neck. And I would continue to work to the point where people would tell me, "Are you mad?" I'm like, "No, why? Why do you think I'm mad?" "Well, your face is very," and I'm like, "I'm actually in pain, like, I have a migraine or I'm in physical pain." Or many times people would tell me that, like, oh, really? I never noticed, I guess they would notice it when I was really in pain, but most of the time I would still work. And I'm like, I have a migraine right now. They're like, really? You can't even tell. And I'm like, oh, I'm in pain right now. But I learned to live with it to the point where my nervous system got so thrown off because I was having so many family issues. I was going through so much myself in my marriage. My stress level was, my nervous system was so completely on fight or flight that the pain became so intense that I was like, do whatever. They were injecting my face. They were do whatever. I don't care anymore. That's how bad it was. They give me the medication. If I have to be on this medication for the rest of my life, fine. That's the point of my life where I received, but that's showing you and showing myself how important it was that I needed to heal. I needed to heal my life. I needed to heal everything I went through in my life. I needed to heal everything that I was hauling, I feel, as well from our ancestors that we are unaware, repeating these cycles. Because I've had women tell me, I didn't even realize I was repeating an ancestral cycle. And then I hear your podcast and you guys are talking about it. And then it made me realize, oh my God, this is what my mom went through. And I'm repeating the same cycle. This is what my grandmother and my aunt and this, like, you're so right. We're repeating unconsciously these cycles and it's just a buildup. It's a buildup that is putting our nervous system so tense and so stressed out and so cortisol levels so out of whack that, and then it starts causing all this physical illness. So just taking the time, realizing.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole feel. It feels like almost like a trap. So like then you go to the doctor and then this happens. It's like, where do you turn to, right? And I understand. I mean, in severe pain, how do you deal with something like that,
But
right?
it's kind of like addiction, like you said. It's showing you where the work needs to be done. The
That's
physical illness, the stress, the nervous system, everything is pointing to what needs to be healed, what
absolutely.
needs to be dealt with.
Like,
There's something going on here. Just like in descodificación, the codification, they talk about there's a reason why if you have where's the cancer or where is like the scoliosis. One parent's pulling this way, the other one, which is makes totally sense for me. There's certain sickness that is specifically telling you, and they start asking you, okay, you're having miscarriages, you can't get pregnant. What happened in the lineage? Did your mom have miscarriages? Did your grandmother have miscarriages? Are you feeling guilty? Like you have to start digging to see why this physical illness is happening to know and start digging into your family ancestral to see where it's coming from.
exactly. Which is why I felt so appalled because I really think that technology and artificial intelligence is gonna come up, or it already has come up. There are people that have come up with a cure for like cancers, right? And they've been disappeared or mysteriously gone, right? And then this week, I heard from this new legislation that they wanted that the AI was going to create this ways that even in your blood or the way way in advance, they would tell if you had cancer or not, which, wow, what a breakthrough. And then within 48 hours, the AI is also going to create a vaccine that then heals that specific cancer. I was like, but what about what caused the cancer? Like the cancer was caused by an emotion, by it
And it's
was
gonna come back. It's gonna come back.
so imagine if you give someone a vaccine and I could just imagine people going to the doctor, getting tested, the doctor tells them you might get cancer in 10 years. So let's just give you a vaccine right now. Like, what the heck? We're still and I had a lot of hopes for this legislation because I've been tracking what like Robert Kennedy has been doing. He's somebody who worked with well, he didn't work with plant medicine. His son ended up working with plant medicine, very synchronistic. So he wants to protect that, and he's more like a holistic, natural. That was what he was saying. And I had heard that this legislation was going to put him in that healthcare department, which is so weird. If you look at all these people that lead the healthcare department, they're all overweight. They're all like their feet look like what the hell? How am I going to be taking like health advice from you, right? So I thought they were gonna put him there, and I thought that this was gonna shit. But when he said that this Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't even know what it was, I was like, "What?" And I thought I was the only one that said what, but no, I'm seeing everybody's like, no, this is BS. Yeah, we got removed from the World Health Organization, which is a basically money making machine. But now you're saying you're gonna give a vaccine. How about let's deal with preventing the cancer? How about like let's talk about lifestyle, food? How about we talk about emotions that are actually causing this? So I am praying that this is not the path that we're headed. I'm praying that the people will wake up and not give their power away too much to a doctor, because I believe that even if you find a good doctor, you still have to be the best advocate for your own health, because you know yourself more than that doctor. And if you don't fight for yourself, that doctor sees so many people throughout the day that he's or she is just like, let me get this person out of here fast. So I'm not fully against, Western medicine, modern medicine, but I do believe that you have to be very involved in what it is that they're doing for you. The problem is that when you usually go to the doctor, it's like when you went, you were already at that breaking point. It was horrific. Like, what do you do at that point? I don't like it's so difficult when somebody has cancer and they go to the doctor and they tell them you have to get chemotherapy. Like, I have a lot of compassion for that, because I say right now, I would never do that. I would just heal it by fasting and detoxing. But God, when you're at that point, we have to respect people's decisions and what it is that they do. But one thing that I do hope and pray is that, because my grandma used to be like that. She used to think the doctors were like gods. She used to think that the doctors were like, she used to worship them. And she used to be like, no, mija, es que ellos fueron a la escuela. They went to the school. They know what's better. And I'm like, Grandma, but why would you want to do that if it's causing this? So I just hope that in this generation that we start to really see, and I'm not saying look at doctors as evil, because they're doing their work at school. They didn't get taught about emotions. They didn't get taught about trauma. And yes, it is a big money making machine with the pharmaceutical industry. But I hope to God that in the next few years, more of us wake up to start to take our sovereignty back as it relates to our health. And more of us take this beautiful approach that you've taken, where you have not given up, where you have said, I'm going to try this and I'm going to be consistent. And I know that the changes might not be overnight, but the changes are definitely grounded in getting to the root cause instead of just creating more and more problems. You know what I mean?
I think it goes back to we've grown in this society, and including myself, where we want everything like this. Fast. Everything's fast. We have phone, we have the internet, we have everything, all the information, everything's instant. We want food. We DoorDash and we bring it here. We go down the street and it's just instant fast food. We want it. Everything is fast. We're so entitled. And I'm not just saying I'm entitled. I feel entitled too sometimes, and I need to check myself. I'm like, no, calm down. It doesn't work like that. And we're just all these foods, these processed, these diets, all these just artificial sugar, the MSG, all these flavors that make us addicted to all these foods that are harming our body, and then dealing with all this other stuff. And it's not easy. It's hard. You have to really, my sister the other day was telling me, she's like, I don't know if I could ever leave sugar. I'm like, well, when you don't have an option. And she kind of just stood quiet, like, damn, when you don't have another option, what are you going to do? Like, I got to do what I got to do. If I really want to heal, like, I have to do what I want. I have to be very strong and committed and stay focused and just declare it. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it. Otherwise, then I'm going to be sick. Then I don't have a right to complain.
Sure. That's so
Because there's either I take the medication. I don't want to do that. We have a friend, one of her friends, who her son, I think, got diagnosed with cancer. I believe he was 7. He's 19, 20,
oh,
around there right now, 21. He's constantly in the hospital because of the effects of the chemo and radiation or whatever they did. He's constantly in pain. He's constantly in the hospital. He's constantly has to get surgery. He's constantly. There's so many generational stuff that I know. I'm almost positive that hasn't been dealt with. They haven't worked through. Plus the foods, plus already the treatment that he received. I think it's all, and it's so painful to watch that he's constantly in the hospital. He's constantly in pain. He can't live a normal life. He hasn't been able to go to school constantly because he has to constantly miss because he's in the hospital. He's in pain. He's in this medication stuff, this vaccine to prevent cancer. No, no, no. And we want it instant. We want it fast. We want it now. That everybody's like, oh, let me go get a shot. I even with the IVs, my husband, because I was telling my husband I wanted to go get IVs. He's like, it causes swelling.
Oh, it does?
And yeah, that's what he was telling me. And I was like, are you sure? He's like, yes. He's like, if you get too much, he's like, notice people that have been in the hospital, they've had an IV for a while, it will cause swelling. Just like there's certain medications that I've seen family take, and I see them just swell up.
Ah,
And I'm like, the medication, it's a side effect of the medication. So what is the best thing?
oh, oh, hold on a second.
So there's side effects of medications that we don't even realize how much is going to affect us in the long run. So I'd rather be strict with my diet now and do my meditation, do my sadhana, which I do realize it calms me down. It calms the nervous system down.
Right.
And then it gets to a point where you're doing the healthy eating.
Exactly.
It's not easy, but I'm like, either you get better or you stay sick and you don't have a right to complain,
Right.
pretty much. So what's more important? So I'm like, okay, I'll commit to it, you know? If we commit to other stuff that's not good for us, why can't we commit to the healthy eating and just really getting better and feeling better?
Exactly. And then the whole thing is because of the nervous system. Because if we're under fight and flight all the time, we're not going to make these conscious decisions. We're always going to be basically reaching for the coping mechanism. And that puts us deeper into this red. There's like the red and the green, right? The green having vitality, having energy. And the red is like the things that take that away. And when we are dysregulated, we're going to gravitate towards that because that's the program. That's the way our ancestors dealt with it. That was their coping mechanism. So if it was their coping mechanism, we have to rewire it at the level of the nervous system. And next week, like I said, we're gonna have a whole episode on the womb and especially like the 5th month of the womb to talk about that. But we do have to get to the root cause if we really want to change. And there are a lot of people, like you said, that go. I mean, there was this guy I remember at the office, with the real estate office that we were at. He was young too. He was like in his late 30s, and he had like a freaking heart attack. Like he almost died. Okay. And I asked him, he wasn't overweight or anything, but I know how he was eating, like Monster, like the chips and all that. Like for me, my weakness was as a little girl, it was Doritos. Like I love Doritos con tapatio y limon. My mouth is watering right now, me saying it.
Yeah.
So what do? I don't buy them. I don't keep them in my house because if I were to keep them in my house, I know how I am. And I remember him, he almost died. And then a week later, he came into the office and I was like, how are you? He's like, oh, hanging in there. But he went back to the same habits, the same things. And I was trying to explain to him what had caused it, but he really wasn't hearing me. And the whole thing that I saw, because at that point I was already studying Kundalini Yoga, I was like, dude, he has so much trauma. Like, he doesn't know how to deal with it. This is the only way. It's not just alcohol, ladies. It's, that Red Bull, the Monster, the chips, all that stuff. Thank God there is a law. Apparently, they passed a law that they're going to remove that red dye number 30 from all the
What
food.
about the rest of them?
Exactly.
Why not the rest of them, right? Why just that one? I was telling my kids,
Exactly.
they're replacing it with another toxic red color. Why not all of them? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, that's it.
It's exactly like in TikTok, they took it away, they reinstated it. But yeah, they reinstated it because now it's under the servers of the government, which now are tracking us. I was going into TikTok. Why couldn't I have seen anything about the fires anymore? It's like they're covering up that information. I had to go
Mhm.
search it. I had to literally go search it. And now there's more fires happening in San Diego and in Santa Clarita. Why are we not hearing that? So it's upsetting. There's so many times where I don't want to participate in social media, but by the same token, I feel like it's like my civil duty to what we're doing here with this podcast, with the stuff that we put out there, because even if they try to suppress us and block us, God's on our side, and God, the people that need to hear these messages are going to hear them regardless. So we have to keep going and not let that stuff trigger us. The other thing that I want to say about the nervous system that I think is very important is the spiritual aspect, because when we have a regulated nervous system and it's educated to learn how to know when there is a danger and know when there isn't, so you can actually be relaxed, that means that we can be more in the present moment. That's what that means, that we're not living in the past and we're not living in the future, right? So one of the things that's so important for us to realize, and through A Course in Miracles spiritual psychotherapy, the psychotherapy is about reminding you of your truth, who you are, the Christ, literally. And that might be triggering to a lot of people because of the fact that there is generational trauma patterns, right? But Christ was trying to tell us that the whole entire time. And a big part of that is to learn to be in this body present in the now. And the whole thing about that is that we have to understand that this reality is being created through our thoughts, beliefs, and feelings. So if our nervous system is regulated, we're living in the present, we're breathing more consciously, which means we're interacting with which what is known as this unified field. This unified field is like this plasma, divine feminine energy. It's everywhere. It's what we're seeing in the guy with those plasmoids, right? The nervous system is the male, the divine masculine, the logic, right? So you have beliefs, thoughts, and emotions that then shoot up to the brain, and then the brain downloads information not from it doesn't create thoughts, it downloads from your program. So if you're someone who's not living in the present, you are constantly downloading from this program of the past or of the future. But if your nervous system is regulated and you re-educated, you're in the present, you're conscious about your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. It doesn't mean that you don't have any bad thoughts or bad emotions. It means you're conscious about them and you know that they're just a moment in time and space. They're not who you are, right? Then now you're consciously interacting with this unified field that is creating your reality. So how this looks is, if you have generational trauma patterns, your nervous system is dysregulated, you're not conscious about your thoughts 90 to 95% of the day. You're interacting with this field that then is creating your reality. So then you wonder, why are all these people so evil? Why are all these people doing this to me? It's because of the way that your nervous system is interacting with this divine feminine aspect. So when we regulate the nervous system, we're more conscious and we're like choosing things like gratitude, right? Like today we were talking about gratitude as a foundation of prosperity. The way I see gratitude now is it's like almost like a disruptor in the lattice in this field of all, because every thought we have, every word we say becomes an imprint in the lattice. That's why the ancestors' language is of emotions, right? So they're all there. They're all there, which you're operating under unconsciously. But if you're conscious, and let's say you now feel more grateful, even when shit is going down around you, right? You're going through a health situation, a divorce, or all that. It can be possible, believe me, with a regulated nervous system. Now you're interacting with the field, and like gratitude to me, it's like it disrupts. It completely disrupts this constant flow of I'm not good enough or life sucks or all of that. So there's a huge spiritual aspect to the nervous system that I don't think a lot of people know about. And like I said, next week we're gonna talk about the womb, and then the following week we're gonna get more into what this field is. But spiritually, how have you experienced the nervous system? How has it taught you to let others be and to trust God in your own path?
I think I reached a point where I don't wanna feel that stressed out and those cortisol levels. You get used to them, like you said, you get addicted to them.
That's true.
That to the point where even you self-sabotage because you wanna feel that stress or whatever. Not to the point where, like, if you're not bringing peace into my life, like, I don't want you in my life. Like, oh, well, do your thing, you know, because I don't want that anymore. And it's true. It's even that state of gratitude, even when things are going wrong, even, thank you, God, for I know there's a purpose for this. I know, this physical illness, there's a purpose for it. You're teaching me something. And it's perfectly, everything's a miracle, everything's aligned. And it just starts, you start being able to accept that, and you start being able to actually live in the moment and really enjoy those moments when you're with your family, with your spouse, and just really take it in. And this is what's living. Living in that state of stress, of trying to control everything, or trying, it's not living. What this is living, being a calm nervous system and be able to enjoy and live in the moment and not thinking about the past and not thinking about the future, just right now, because it's really the only time that exists. That's living. That's really enjoying the moment and enjoying my kids. And, it's, and I think once you get there, it kind of gets addicting to being in that state of mind.
And for so many reasons, because like you said, it's how we feel, but then also what it does in our families. Because if nervous systems co-regulate together, then like if our nervous system is stable, our kids gravitate towards us more. They feel safe around us. You don't even have to say anything. When my
They
nervous
feel it. They feel
Yeah.
it.
Remember, like in the past, I wasn't present. I was physically there, but was I present there with my child the way I needed to? Not at all, because of the nervous system. Not because
And
we're
they've
bad.
told me. I know they've told you. I know my kids have told me. They're like, "No, mom, ever since you started the whole sauna and you started working on yourself and I see it. You're a lot more calmer. You don't react like before." I do react sometimes. I just still kind of, but they're like, "No, I see the difference."
Yeah. Yeah. My husband said that to me too, and my kids always say that too. And this year, it was shocking in December. He's like, "You've just turned to someone to be so compassionate. You're so kind." I was like, "Well, thank you." Take this. Because I don't make a big deal about things anymore. And when he goes through stuff, it's like, let's find the solution. Let's find ways to understand that not to take things personal because, a client will upset him or something happens in his family too, because all things are always happening. And I love going to my parents' house because that's where I realize I'm not enlightened and I'm not sitting exactly all that. But it's like now, and because I do that, he's also very supportive too now. Where before it was kind of like, if he's going through something bad, I'm a dig a knife in there stronger, you know what I mean? And it was like that. And now he's just like, you're just much more compassionate and you're really neutral. I was like, thanks. It's my nervous system. And I deserve that accolade because dear Lord, we've put in a lot of inner work.
A
And
lot of work.
it doesn't feel like that anymore. It just feels like
Yeah.
this is part of my life. This is preventive medicine. I'm around people all the time with dysregulated nervous system. So I have a lot of compassion for them, but by the same token, I have a lot of self-respect too, where like you said, I can like you from far away, I can let you do you, boo boo. And that's I think one of the most powerful things about regulating your nervous system that you're not trying to control everyone and everything. That's the whole thing. Yes, we could talk about the nervous system forever because it's such a lengthy and deep subject, and the metaphysics of it is even more powerful. But we'll get into it next week when we talk about the womb, because there's a lot of metaphysics around that. And then, like I said, we're going to talk even more deeply about the brain and things of that nature in future podcasts. So, I guess, what are the last words you would say about somebody who is beginning their journey? They don't even know that they had to regulate their nervous system or that it had to do anything with their trauma or anxiety.
I think you said it last week. Take 3 minutes.
Good.
Sit and meditate just for 3 minutes. 3 minutes. 3 minutes a day. And then see what that does to you with the sessions of the methods of Dr. Gabor Mate. Sit there, sometimes just scan your body and be like, okay, what am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this? Where's this coming from? And just give yourself time to feel. Everything goes back to the same thing. And then it gets to the point where you want to do more meditation. It gets to the point where, like, you know what? I do want to eat healthier. You know what? I do want to detox my body from all these chemicals and stuff that we're already putting in our bodies that is affecting us. Like, and it just starts, it's like a stepping stone. And it just starts correlating bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Simple, start small. Don't overwhelm your nervous system, right?
It's not gonna work.
Exactly. Like we did. Remember you and I when we first started doing Kundalini, we were like 18 meditations.
I was barely working at that. I don't even know how getting any work done because it was so many meditations. I thought I was going crazy.
We're just overachievers. None of you need to be overachievers. Not in this path. 3 minutes is simple. And it really seems like, oh, that's too simple. Oh my God. Try it for a week. Your ego is going to fight you after 5 days. No, you don't need this. This doesn't work. Oh, what the heck is going on here? I had a woman yesterday. She was listening to our podcast episode and she commented on the YouTube that the meditation made her laugh. And I was like,
I've had people tell me that.
right? Like, it's never happened to me. Did it? Has that happened to you though?
No, but I've had people. I had a friend tell me, she's like, you know what? I did a Kundalini yoga class, and when I came out, I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop laughing the whole drive home. I was just laughing, and I'm like, and she's a jokester. She's always laughing, making jokes. So that's her. I think that's her coping mechanism. So for whatever reason, she started to feel her reaction was laugh.
So it's probably like a way of purging too.
Yeah.
The same thing.
Hearing the crying. I'm a crier.
Me too.
So I start crying and I'm like, I don't know what happened. Her is like, it's like people, comedians, that's what they do. So I feel like to them, the way they release it is by laughing.
Oh, it's interesting. Yeah. It sounds a lot funner to do it through laughing than
I
crying.
know.
Because I'm a crier too. And I've cried more in the last 6 years during my healing journey than I ever cried in my life. But I don't see it as a bad thing anymore. I like to
No, I don't see it. Before I used to like, why are you crying? Just keep it together. Now I'm just like, I need to cry
yeah.
to let it out. There's a feeling there that I need to let out.
Yeah, it's that whole program as a child, Don't cry, or why'd you do that? You fell and you're crying. Let me give you another beating so that
But they really cry. I'm gonna cry for you. Really cry. You feel cry. Let me make you cry right now.
exactly like what kind of shit is that? Yeah, so I totally agree with you. I think the last thing that I would say is healing the nervous system isn't about fixing yourself. I think it's so important for us to know that the healing journey is not about fixing yourself. It's truly about remembering the light and the freedom and the sovereignty that has always been within you. That was when I understood that, that's when the healing really, really began. Because at the beginning, I think I was putting so much pressure on myself to fix something that I thought was broken. Where
That's what we're doing.
what's that?
And we're doing the 16, 17 minutes to heal my mother wound, to heal my father wound, to heal my ancestral wounds, to heal my inner child, to heal because we felt we were so broken inside that we need to fix all these things inside of us. That's what was happening to us.
Right. So I think it's so important for people that are beginning their healing journey to know that it's not about that. We're going to do a whole episode on that in 3 weeks on what it truly is about, because it's about evolution. It's about recognizing your innate greatness and not continuing the identification with the generational trauma. It's like going to Alcoholic Anonymous and they make you repeat all the time that you're an alcoholic. No, we're not doing that. We're remembering the light within us. So if you are beginning on this healing journey, understand that it is not all love and light. There are so many things that show up in the journey in itself, but these are the same things that the ancestors could not face. So you listening to this, or even taking on the challenge of a 3-minute meditation, or maybe you're going to begin a detox. I'll put that book you talked about here in the comments. I'll also link Gabor Mate's books, because that's another thing. I know a lot of people talk about mental health being very, very expensive, right? Or even then you find mental health and it's not even good for you because all they want to do is talk about it for you. So you could do a lot of reading already. You could join. Gabor Mate has been a lifesaver for me. I listen to him almost every day. And there's also a lot of ways for you to start integrating these things. You can go to my YouTube channel, find free meditation. You can email message us if you have questions, particularly about what you're going through. We have a free Facebook group, Sovereign Sisterhood Movement, where I do a live healing session every Wednesday, and I post daily on information about generational healing. The academy is closed right now, but you can also join us at Satori. That's a monthly membership. I think it is very affordable for people, and I did it for that reason. But if for some reason you have economic setbacks for just this moment, then we also have scholarships. I don't want anyone to feel that it's not accessible for them to actually do this healing work. So thank you, Rita. This has been amazing. I think we could talk for hours just about this, but like I said, we're going to break it down in the next few episodes so that it doesn't feel overwhelming on the nervous system. So thank you all so much for being here. We hope that this episode has shown you the incredible power of your body to heal, transform, and reconnect with divine alignment. The nervous system isn't just the future of generational healing. It is the key to unlocking your divine sovereignty. Thank you for being part of this sacred sisterhood. If this episode resonated with you, please, we'd love to hear your reflections. Let us know in the comments below, share your thoughts, any breakthroughs, or even questions, and let us know how we can assist you. And thank you for liking, for sharing it with your community, for subscribing. We have a new episode every single week. So please join us. Thank you all, and we will see you in the next episode.